This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
So the Lions didn't really do much to shake the same old Lions mantra this past weekend, did they?
I don't like hearing that.
What was that?
I don't like hearing that. I was hoping we were past it.
Well, we're not, clearly, because the team isn't past that. They had a chance to win this They had a chance to beat the Vikings, and honestly, they had a chance to beat the Vikings pretty handily in that game, and
they had multiple chances to beat the Vikings.
Yeah, they had two double digit leads in this game in each half. Like they had a 14-0 lead to start the game, and then they had I think a 10-point lead in the second half. Like this was without a doubt a same old Lions type loss, without a doubt. And with that being said, this is the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
We are on episode number 175, 25 more to 200. Exciting, big number.
Are we going to start doing a countdown every episode?
I mean, we mentioned the show episode number. I'm Nick, and with me is Andrew. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, guys.
This week, we are going to be talking about the Lions' loss to the Vikings in dramatic fashion. We could say that. And we also have a little bit of Pistons topics to talk about. They had their media day. They've released a training camp roster, and they made a trade. A guy that I believe we've talked about on this show. Or did we talk about the other one?
No, we talked about the other Bogdanovic.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Same player.
Same name.
Same name. They're literally like the same player, too.
It's like one letter off.
Yes. So there is obviously a full slate of stuff to talk about today. I do want to kick it off with the Lions, though. Not a good coaching performance. It was very, Jekyll and Hyde at times. You saw extreme aggressiveness in the first half to where I don't think they punted in the first half, or if they did, it was like one or two times and they had several first downs. They went forward on fourth time after time after time, converting, I want to say most of them, or at least some of them, to deciding not to go with your strengths on a 3rd and 1 call, which is to run the ball when you've been averaging well over, positive yards, and all you needed was 1. Yep. With a bruising back and Jamal Williams, you decided to drop back and pass, which I would argue is not really the strength of your team on this day. To then taking your foot off the gas entirely in most of the second half, and then settling for a 54-yard field goal instead of taking maybe a delay a game and punting, giving your punter a little bit more room, pinning them deep, or continuing with the same thought process of going for it. The thing that bothered me the most is the fact that you chose to kick a 54-yarder with a kicker who had already missed from 48, and I believe not a single field goal had been made on that end of the field all game.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when we were watching the game, we were talking about the decision we would make here, and we were talking about how on paper a field goal would make sense because you're only up a field goal right now. It gives you that cushion, forcing to.
It allows you to pin the other team deep back. It allows you to pin the other team at least to the 25.
And you have a good place kicker that can potentially pin someone deep on a kickoff. But what Dan Campbell should take into account is the kicker you're setting out there is 3 for 9 in his career in 50+ yard field goals.
Why did they cut Riley Patterson? The kid came in last year and was solid at worst. And then Austin Seibert's like a guy that was thrown on the trash heap by another team, and you decided to keep him over Patterson, who, mind you, I want to say is 1 for 1 from 50 and 2 for 2 from 45 to 49. He's doing his job.
Yeah.
This was a do your job situation for Austin Seibert, and he didn't do his job. He hits that field goal earlier in the game from 48, it's probably a different conversation.
Yeah.
And if he hits the 154, it's probably a different conversation. I just don't understand the philosophy of being all gas all the time to let's be as conservative as possible.
I mean, it's not the first time we've seen it. I from Dan Campbell specifically.
Right.
I think what it is with Dan Campbell, I think he goes with instinct for the first 3 quarters, and I think like when it comes to crunch time, he just starts overthinking it. He starts basically letting perception get into his head.
See, this is one of the things that I worry about with a Dan Campbell coached Lions team is his inability to properly manage a game. And we saw it a lot last year where he costed the team games because of his lack of consistency with the way he manages a game. But this was the Dan Campbell that was in the beginning of last season, making those types of mistakes and those decisions that cost his team games. Why are we seeing this still? I thought we grew out of this. I thought we were better than this now. Why is this still coming up? I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, fire Dan Campbell. This team clearly wants to play for him, but he's got to manage a game better.
Yeah. No, I'm still a Dan Campbell fan. Let's not get that wrong, but there are things that need to be fixed before I become a Dan Campbell stan.
And I honestly, I can't blame Jared Goff whatsoever. I thought Jared Goff played just fine. The pick at the end of the game was a desperation throw. Like, I don't blame him in any way. I thought Jared Goff was just fine.
You don't feel like on that last drive, Jared Goff was basically in panic.
You're talking
mode.
the one where he had 54 seconds.
Yeah. If we had, let's be honest here.
Okay, who wouldn't be in panic mode?
Yeah,
You have 54 seconds to drive the length of the field with a team that, for all intents and purposes,
Hey, we had a quarterback kid that used to be dialed in those
doesn't
situations.
have their top 2 weapons on the field. St. Brown, hurt. Swift, hurt. So what's he do? Yeah, of course he's panicked at that point. Who's he throwing to?
The defenders.
Well, okay.
He threw directly to him on 2 straight plays.
It was a desperation throw under pressure. I don't fault him for that. The fact that his coach put him in that position at that point in the game, that's not on him. That's on the coach.
Well, yeah, I'm not putting it entirely on Jared Goff.
Jared Goff played a just fine football game. He played well enough for that team to win. The defense.
I think the Lions in general played well enough.
I
to
do
win that
too,
game.
and their coach costed them. Their coach and their kicker costed them the game. Frankly, if I were the Lions, I would have just told Seibert, you know what, we'll clean your locker out for you. Good luck. There's no room for that in this league, and if you want your team to be successful, there's no room for kicking woes. Like I'm sorry, I have no patience for it.
No, I'm on the same boat, we've seen it happen with this team before. We've seen them try out kickers that could not hit a field goal to save their life in a game, and they weren't with the team much longer.
Signed, who was it? Oh, man. I can't remember the kid's name.
Former Eagles kicker. What was his name?
I can't remember it either. It's probably best that I don't. Wasn't he the one who missed 3 field goals for against the Bills, and we ended up losing because Dave Carpenter had a 60-yarder? Anyways, this episode of the Fan Report is brought to you by the Detroit Sports Podcast. No, I did not do this. You can follow them on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. You can also follow us on Twitter at Real Fan Report. It was. Let me ask you this: were you numb to a loss like this, or did it still hurt?
Oh no, this one hurt. This one definitely hurt. I mean, like, there's Alex Henry, by the way, is one of those.
Alex Henry, that's the guy's name. Yes, okay.
But
God, he sucked.
It was, the reason it hurt was twofold. One, it was because this felt like a game where we actually were in control the entire game, and just still somehow came out with an unnecessary loss. I know we were touchdown dogs going in, but when the game goes the way it goes, there comes a point where you're like, losing this would be completely unnecessary at this point. Like, this is a game you should win now. And then the second part of that is just how much hope I had and still have for this team going into the season, and looking at their schedule coming up too. You get a chance to really be ahead of the 8 ball on this one. And
Well, it was a game that we had
pegged.
pegged as a loss. Like, it was one that we weren't expected to win.
Yeah, that's why you had a chance to be really ahead of the 8 ball by getting this win.
If we look at our preseason projections, we're spot on so far. A loss against Philly, a win against Washington, a loss in Minnesota. Like, we're spot on to how I expected us to start the season. And then I think technically we might have done these projections before the Russell Wilson trade, but I expect the Lions to beat Seattle this week. I do. Granted, Seattle's a mess, whatever.
And I expect them to beat the Patriots the week after that without Mac Jones.
See, I don't know. That team still comes to play. Without Mac Jones, they still come to play.
Who's their backup? Is it Brian Hoyer still?
I don't actually know.
If the Lions can't beat Brian Hoyer, we have another PJ Walker situation. I swear to God. It is Brian Hoyer.
Okay, well, Hoyer's a savvy vet. I think he could carve apart our defense. Frankly speaking, Amani
Let's just put it this way.
Oruwariye...
The Patriots are 10.5-point dogs going against Green Bay this week.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. But Amani Oruwariye was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
5 penalties called on him. 5. I understand you had Adam Thielen, you had a big, KJ Osborne at times, but you shouldn't be getting penalties against Osborne. Thielen, you still shouldn't be getting penalties. You should just, if you need help, ask for it. He's got to be better. You can't have your number one corner committing that many penalties, costing your team that much. Okudah played well. Granted, I have seen several screenshots showing why the numbers look great for Okudah. They literally took Okudah and a safety and just stuck them both like glue on Justin Jefferson. There was zero separation.
It wasn't all game, though.
It was all game. It was all game.
I had PFF notes on this.
PFF doesn't tell the whole story on that.
Of the 44 routes that Justin Jefferson run, 14 of them were either bracketed or single-man coverage with safety help up top. The other 30 were Okudah.
Then there are plays that weren't drawn for Jay Jetta. Like I from what I had seen and from what I have heard, Okudah had help all game long, with safety help or linebacker help or straight up was double covered all game long. Now, mind you, bracket help and safety coverage up top is different from a double cover. From what I had heard, he was double covered the entire game. There was zero separation between him and 2 dudes. Which doesn't sound fun for a receiver.
Well, isn't bracket and safety help, aren't those the 2 forms of double coverage? Like, what other form of double cover is there?
Straight up double man. Straight up double man coverage.
That's bracket.
Bracket's underneath. Isn't bracket underneath with linebacker help? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, I thought bracket was having two corners on him, or a corner safety right up on him on the line, like double man.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. But from what I heard, and this isn't coming from PFF, this is other analyst sources, he was double covered the whole game. Like he maybe had 10 snaps in single coverage.
That's the annoying thing about watching on a broadcast is you
don't
can't
notice
really
that.
tell.
You can't see that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, one, you don't get to see the whole field half the time because the focus is on the play. Regardless,
on secondary sources.
Regardless, Okudah had a lot of help in this game. He had a lot of help. And either way, he performed. And he did his job. And he held Jay Jetta down, which I give him props for that. He did get called for a penalty or two, but I think it was one penalty and it ended up getting declined because Oruwariye also had a penalty on the play. I can't say Okudah may have been one of the best defensive players on the field for us this past weekend. May have. Is it time for him to step up into the spotlight? Can he handle that? Can he handle number one duties?
Is it wrong for me to start getting my hopes up about that?
I do think it's wrong, yes. I do think it's wrong.
I'm starting to get my hopes up that Okudah is turning a corner. And because listen, you don't have a high bar to clear. If this is what we're getting from Warrior this season, you do not have a high bar to clear.
I'm not talking about just being better than Oruwariye. I'm talking being a number one corner in this league.
Oh, I thought you were talking about being a number one corner on this team.
No, stepping up into the spotlight and being a number one corner. not having to rely on bracket coverage to help you with a number one receiver. Being able to say, I got my man, and not let him get free. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm not ready to say that. Not even
Well,
close.
I don't think Okudah has the ability, like the actual skill set to be a number one corner in this league. We already know that he struggles in man coverage. Like,
then there's no point in moving him to the number one spot on this team. If he's going to require that help, if he's not going to be able to do it, don't even bother with it. Keep him, make him a solid number two, get him comfortable there, and then go get a number one. Asking a guy to do something that he's not going to do in the future is pointless in my mind. That's why I never really believed in having
unless you're going to scheme. Unless you're going to scheme mainly cover three. Like,
and then you're going to give up 1,000 points.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been a big believer in having a guy move to a position based on current need if that's not what his long-term goal is, if you're not going to be winning now. Like, let's get that straight. Like, that's why I didn't really like the idea of moving Sewell to left tackle last year when Decker went down, because I wanted him to grow as right tackle, because that's where his long-term route is as a right tackle of this football team.
Yeah. Well, what's your answer to that question? Do you think that Okudah can be a true number one corner in this league?
I don't.
How many true number one corners would you say exist in this league?
Probably 20.
You think it's more than half of the teams have a true number one corner?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably 15 to 20. I don't think Okudah's in the top 32 now. If you're asking me if I think he's a top 32 corner in this league, I do not. I don't think he's a top 40 corner in this league. I like Jeff Okudah. I think he's getting better, and I think we're starting to see some of what we drafted him for. I don't think he has the foot speed. He showed a little bit of the physicality, but he's got to show it without getting penalized. He showed an ability to play smart when you have help. But those aren't traits of a number one corner. Those are traits of a number two corner or a number three corner. Like, Okudah is a guy, and he played this at Ohio State where he played a role. Yeah. He wasn't just a go be on an island with a good receiver. He played a role, and he played a side of the field. So
yeah, Okudah Island was never going to be a thing like that.
I'm sorry, but if you're drafting a corner number 3 overall, it better be a thing.
I agree with you there, but like, just you could have just looked at the scouting report on Okudah and said Okudah Island's not going to be a thing. Like,
well, when he was drafted to be Okudah Island.
Yeah.
So I don't.
That's why none of us wanted the Okudah pick.
Right. I don't think he'll ever live up to the bill of the number 3 overall pick, and frankly, that's not his fault. I do think he's going to be better underneath Dan Campbell. A lot better underneath Dan Campbell, and
he's already looking better underneath Dan Campbell.
Right. But I don't think he has the foot speed to keep up with the faster, bigger, better receivers in this league. I think Thielen would have torched him either way, frankly. I think Thielen's got a little bit more physicality than a guy like Justin Jefferson does. Jay Jetta's a very savvy route runner, and is quick. But Thielen's and Thielen's big. He's got that body that just abuses people.
That's why Thielen was so dominant for multiple years in a row, because of the fact that he's so big and such a savvy route runner. He wasn't the fastest guy in the field, but he just knew how to get open. How to use his body, use his route running to get open.
Right.
But that's beside the point now. We've gone into too deep of a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But, again, I still, despite the loss, I do feel like there are a lot of positives to take away from this game, because I do feel like this was a well-played game by the Lions overall. I mean, I thought the offensive line played well. Our run game showed up again. I thought, even though Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't break the record, largely due to him getting hurt, he still had a good game while he was on the field. I didn't have much to complain about in this game. Like, that's what feels weird, is we're talking about a loss, but there isn't much in the game outside of some coaching blunders. Like, with the roster itself, with the players we had, there isn't much about this game that I could complain about, other than the Hamani Arouarieh. That was pretty bad, and our kicking. Those are the two main things. Everything else, though, was a positive.
I thought everything else, or outside of kicking and ROREA, I thought they were solid. The offensive line was solid. They created room for Jamal Williams to run. Swift never really could get going, but he was hurt with the ankle as well as the shoulder. Yeah. Goff had some time to throw the football, and obviously St. Brown got hurt as well. I would have liked to see another receiver step up when St. Brown went down. Like, that's why we brought in DJ Chark. That's why we brought in Josh Reynolds. Like, I would have liked
Josh Reynolds did kind of step up.
He played well. He played well, but nobody really stepped up.
100 yards receiving.
Yeah, he did. He played well. I would have liked to see somebody step up to be the number one guy, and I'm primarily looking at DJ Chark in that regard. I have a feeling that he doesn't quite have that connection with Jared Goff just yet.
Feel like it, not yet.
But again, I thought the Lions played well enough to win this game. I did. I don't think they played bad at all. I think they played just fine. I don't think anything jumped off the page to me. Like, I don't think anybody out there was like, "Oh my God, like, we've got a star."
No, it was just more of a good team effort, is what it felt like.
Yeah, it did, and it's kind of
it very much felt like that next man up thing, like we were seeing last week.
To an extent, yeah. I don't think the next man up was clearly anywhere near as good as the top guy, but
yeah.
I mean, you could argue Jamal Williams was. I think that was really about it. But
yeah.
One guy I'm starting to become increasingly concerned with, though, TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Yeah, he should have been able to do some damage. Like, just scheme-wise against the Vikings, he should be able to do some damage.
Yeah. And he scored a touchdown, but that was it. Like, that's all he did.
Yeah, Vikings run a cover two. Cover two usually leaves middle of the field open. Tight ends operate in the middle of the field. This was the type of game that's set up for someone like TJ Hawkinson to do some damage. I don't know if, again, like, I'm not someone that's going back and watching game film after watching the game, so I don't know if it was Hawkinson just couldn't get any separation, if Jared Goff just doesn't look Hawkinson's way. I don't know what it is right now, but...
So, by the way, to answer your to answer the bracket coverage is more of a defender positioning. So you play one high, one low, essentially. You don't play two up on them. You play one over the top, one underneath to take away certain throws, and basically the only throws you're allowing at that point are the big time underneath throws. So it just takes away big plays. You have one over top, one defender underneath. You see it a lot with safeties in a corner, and you can play it in like cover two. You see safeties in a corner with the corner underneath, safety over the top, or you could play it with the corner and man over the top and a linebacker playing more of a flat route underneath, depending on where you think you can get hurt. But so not necessarily straight up double man, but it's bracket coverage. So anyways, I was going to bring something up, and I can't remember what it was.
Tracy Walker tearing his Achilles?
Well, obviously, who fills in for him at this point? Because he's a big part of the defense.
I got nothing. Yeah, that's a captain.
Right.
He's a big part of the defense. I don't know, man. It's like, it's starting to get ridiculous, the amount of injuries we have already.
It is pretty bad. And it makes you wonder if some of the things that they did in the offseason where Dan Campbell just said, trust me, man, if that was the wrong decision. It's
Tracy
extra stress on your body.
Yeah, but I think specifically Tracy Walker, like Achilles injuries are normal. Those aren't like
Achilles injuries Achilles tears
is going to prevent. Like
Achilles injuries can be caused by continued stress on the ligament.
Yeah, playing football is continued stress on the ligament.
Okay, but they were playing more football than they needed to. Is kind of what I'm getting at. They didn't necessarily need to be in pads on that day, this day or that day, and they were. They didn't necessarily need to run this drill. Like it. I get the mindset by what Dan Campbell was doing, but sometimes there's a point of diminishing return, and that's kind of what I'm starting to wonder if that was the cause of it. Like I'm not trying to turn this into a Dan Campbell hate hour. I like Dan Campbell. I think he's a guy that this team and these players want to play for. I really struggle with his game management at times. Actually, for the most part, but I do think he's a good he's a guy that players want to play for. So,
but Looks like your safeties now are Deshaun Elliott and Juju Hughes with Kirby Joseph waiting in the wings.
So you have a massive hole there. You could make an argument that Will Harris could convert back to a safety after converting to a corner in the offseason. You could have him as an emergency deployment. The defense is already
Do we char out
fit.
the rookie sooner than expected?
You might have to. At least he's going to take on a bigger role. There's no question about that.
He's one of the draft picks I liked. So
oh, I agree. Like I there were a lot of draft picks from this past team I liked.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Malcolm Rodriguez have a comeback week. He didn't really have a great week this week. He's got to get going for this game up against Seattle. But so going back to TJ Hawkinson, because I don't think we really kind of finished that conversation there. Like, what is it with him? Why is he falling off a cliff entirely? Like, last year he took a big step back.
Yeah,
this year it almost feels like he's disappeared.
Like I said, it's like with Minnesota specifically, that was a game built for someone like TJ Hawkinson to expose just on scheme alone. A cover 2 is usually a very tight end friendly scheme, and in general, like it's like I said, I'm not someone who goes back and like starts watching game film on this stuff, but I do wonder if it's Hawk not being able to get any separation for some reason, or if Goff just doesn't look his way for some reason. I generally don't know, but there's definitely something wrong, because if he couldn't get anything going in this game, then I don't know when he does.
See, what concerns me is, like, if it is separation, how? Like, he's a big dude, he's quick, he was drafted to be a really good receiving tight end, and we've seen that he can get separation. And also with the added fact that you now have threats out wide, like teams aren't just. Teams don't look at TJ Hawkinson as the biggest threat on this offense anymore. Yeah. There's at least two other threats.
He only got 4 targets in this game. He caught 3 of those 4 targets. It's one of those two things, right? Like naturally, when someone only gets 4 targets, when a receiver that big, a pass catcher I say that big, gets only 4 targets, usually it's either quarterback isn't looking his way or he's not getting open, right? Or is he not running routes? How many routes did he run? I'm not sure.
I don't have that in front of me right now, but
me neither.
It's definitely concerning, and it's something that we have to pay attention to. And he's just got to be better. Like he's a guy we have to rely on, and he's a big weapon for this team. And he was drafted in the top 10. Another draft pick that we didn't like, by the way.
This what I remember when we drafted him. We said in order to justify this, he has to become Travis Kelce. He's got to become Gronk. Like.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move ahead to this upcoming weekend. Seattle Seahawks home game, right?
I think so. I'm not sure, actually.
Yes, home game. Sure. Home game Sunday at 1.
Okay.
If it was on the road, it wouldn't be at 1. What's the path to success here? The Falcons beat the Seahawks utilizing Cordero Patterson to go for 141 yards and a touchdown. So I'd say it probably goes through your backfield.
The Seahawks secondary is also banged up. So there's a lot of ways to expose
There
this
is
team.
a lot of ways to expose
the Lions are touchdown favorites going. Well, I think it's been bet down now to 4.5, but they were.
Does that concern you?
What, that it's been bet down, or that we were that
it's been bet down to 4.5 from a touchdown?
I was more surprised by the touchdown. I think the main reason it's been bet down is because of the amount of injuries we have on this. Like, there's no guarantee on Ross St. Brown plays. DeAndre Swift's probably not going to play. So, like, it's.
If you're the Lions, do you hold Swift and Amon out for a couple weeks?
If there was ever a couple weeks to do it, it's these next couple weeks.
I'd probably agree with you. I think, frankly, we got to look at long term here, and. I really think there's no question Swift's out for a while. I think we're looking at multiple weeks with Swift. St. Brown, you could probably get away with 1 to 2 weeks, honestly. But if it were up to me, I'm looking more long-term with this team. I'd be much more comfortable if they just said, guys, take a couple weeks, get your bodies right. Like, do what you got to do, get your body right. You know, if we lose some games in September, October of this season, I'm not worried about it because I don't have playoff expectations for this team this year. I looked at 7 wins is probably what we're looking at. It's not worth it to jeopardize long-term success here. It's just not. And looking at Seattle, I mean, yeah, Geno Smith can throw the ball a little bit, which crazy story he's had. He threw for 325 yards. He's actually not been bad.
Yep.
Really. But, I mean, the backfield, Rashad Penny, KW3 coming back to town, K9, Kenneth Walker. That'll be kind of a cool homecoming. But obviously, you still got to worry about the weapons that the Seahawks possess. Yeah. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Noah Fant, Will Dissly. They added Marquise Goodwin. There's weapons on this team. No question about it. And your secondary is going to have their hands full.
They've had their hands full a few times.
They have. Already. And
they have not faced easy secondaries their first 3 weeks of the season.
Easy wide receiver course? No, absolutely not.
Sorry, easy wide receiver course.
They went from A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith to McLaurin, Samuel, and I'm missing a name, and Jahan Dotson to Adam Thielen and Jay Jetta. Like that's a brutal group to start with against your young corners, and they fared okay, solid at best. Really, AJ Brown went off, but Devontae Smith was held down. A few guys for Washington played well. I don't think the Lions secondary played that great against Washington. I feel like McLaurin, Samuel, and Dotson all saw some success in that game. But Jay Jetta was held to absolutely non-existent, but Thielen played solidly, and KJ Osborne was good as well. So it was
the other way around with the Eagles. Devontae Smith played well, Devontae Smith was held.
Right, but AJ Brown played well, yes.
Yeah.
What's your matchup here?
What, like the key matchup?
Well, what's your who you putting on who? Because you're manning up, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Play 4-2-5. You're manning up.
Well, this is going to require me to pull up the full-on depth chart real quick.
It's Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, Arouari, and Okudah. Who are you looking at? I frankly,
probably Okudah on Metcalf.
That's what I'm looking at.
Lockett.
The only thing that concerns me there is
I
Metcalf's
thought you wanted me to go deeper in that.
No, the only thing that concerns me there is crazy speed with Metcalf that could be kind of dangerous against Okudah.
Yeah,
but Lockett's also got speed.
Well,
so
Lockett's got speed too.
It's not a great matchup for the Lions with the secondary against the Seahawks wide receiver core, but
do you like thinking about the matchup that you had with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, for example? Okudah fared well against Devontae Smith, but then again, Arouari got torched by A.J. Brown, which does not bode well for him against DK Metcalf. Like, is there an argument to say, like, at least put Okudah on Lockett and potentially take away that option?
No.
Okay.
I think you're looking at a bit of a different animal here. I think Lockett's still a better receiver than Devontae Smith, one. I think he's also a craftier receiver than Devontae Smith. He really likes those short dink and dunk routes that don't really give Okudah a chance to make a play there. So you got to rely on Okudah's tackling, which in years past has not been very good, especially against those smaller, quick receivers that can make a good cut. If it were up to me, I would put Okudah in a bracket against DK Metcalf and force them to beat me with Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
They can beat me with DK Metcalf. He's got the ability to put up 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Lockett, I know, has done it in the past, but I don't see him doing it with Geno Smith as his quarterback this year. He's getting a little bit older. I don't see it in him anymore. Force him to beat me with Lockett. Let's bracket DK Metcalf and shut him down. Put Okudah on him for some physicality, and
so basically
put a safety
you did
over the top.
Justin Jefferson last week.
Yes, it's exactly what I do. And then pray that guys like Colby Parkinson, Marquise Goodwin can't beat your nickel corner.
Yeah,
because that's what happened with KJ Osborne. But on the other side of the ball, I really think that the Lions have some good matchups there. I think that they can keep Goff upright. I think they can get Jamal Williams to run freely. The only thing that worries me a little bit is they won't have the big playability if Swift's not in there. And that's something that I do think the Lions need to rely on this year is the big plays. That's how they were close in the Eagles game, and it's how they won the Washington game. Big plays. The 50-yard run by Swift, the 58-yard run by Amon-Ra St. Brown. The big plays is what kind of sprung them in that game. So I am hoping we'll get to see some big plays this week. It just might not come at the hands of DeAndre Swift or Amon-Ra St. Brown because they're probably not going to be playing. So other guys got to step up, whether it be Reynolds, Chark, Williams, Craig Reynolds, maybe even TJ Hawkinson could be a factor. Like, they got to find somebody. My key this week is they have to find somebody that's able to step up and make a big play offensively.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about, to be honest with you, I'm not too worried about our offense going into this game. I mean, you are talking about a Seahawks defense that let up 27 points each of the last two games. They should have let up at least 27 points to the Broncos if Nathaniel Hackett knew how to coach a football game.
Right. Well, the thing that does worry me a little bit is you are without your top two playmakers, and that tends to really hamper an offense. So that concerns me a little bit, but I am confident enough in this team to make some plays happen. I don't think the Seahawks secondary can hang on to any of our receivers all that long. And if our offensive line is able to keep Goff upright long enough, I think he'll find somebody to be open.
Yeah.
But someone's got to step up and make big plays.
So at the current line, let me double check it now, but last I checked it was -4.5. Who are you taking?
I think I'm going to take the Lions with this one. I wish that line was down to 2.5 or even 3.5, but I'll still bite the hook on the 4 with the 4.5. I think the Lions can win this game by a touchdown.
I may tease the point, to be honest with you. I may tease it down to 3.5.
I think I would probably do the same. That would make me quite a bit more comfortable.
Yeah. You see a lot of those 4-point differentials in the NFL.
Yeah, you do.
But yeah, that would definitely make me more comfortable if I tease it down to 3.5 because it is a home game. You know what interests me though? The total.
What do you got?
50. It's at 50. I don't like either offense that much right now.
See, the total being that high concerns me a little bit because that tells me that because I don't see the Lions putting up more than 25.
They're basically
to
saying
30.
neither team is going to be able to guard anyone.
Yeah, but who's
a guard like it's basketball?
That's the thing is who do the Lions have that is uncoverable this week? You know what I mean? Like if Swift and Brown aren't there, who is it? Is it Chark finally coming through? Is it Hawk showing up for once?
Jamal Williams? I don't know.
Jamal Williams never been a big play guy.
Somebody.
Like that's where I stop and I wonder where are those points coming from with the Lions? I can see them grind out 3 touchdowns, maybe 4. And if they get 4, there's their half of the 50, but
so you're like me, you're leaning the under.
These defenses are really bad. Yeah. I'd probably stay away from the total if it's me. Lions offense has been real good. I believe second best in scoring in the league. Through 3 weeks, but that's primarily on the backs of guys like DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah. There's currently a big money differential on the over in this game.
What is it?
38% of the bets, 97% of the money
on the over.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm with you. Just avoid that over. Just avoid that.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna avoid the total. Shall we? What are you taking? You taking that 4.5?
I said tease down to 3.5.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, let's move on over.
No, I'm not taking the 4.5 to answer your question.
Oh, are you just staying away from it, or are you taking the Seahawks?
I am more likely not staying away from this game, but if I had to bet it, I would take it at 3.5.
Okay, all right. Let's move on over to the Pistons here. Couple topics here, Andrew. I'm gonna let you take things away.
Yeah. I think first and foremost, the Pistons made a trade. And honestly, a point in time, I was really not expecting a trade at all. It kind of came out of nowhere.
Little close to training camp.
Yeah. But they have shipped out Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee, as well as cash considerations, for one Bojan Bogdanovic.
So that answers our question that we posed last week about Saban Lee.
Yeah.
How does he be a part of this team? Well, he's not.
I'm pretty sure that trade happened before our pod actually dropped.
I believe it did. I believe it did the day before.
Made that whole conversation irrelevant.
Yes. I thought this was honestly a great trade because Olynyk, expiring deal, not a part of the future of this team. Mm-hmm. Saban Lee, we talked about, is there even a path for him to be a future part of this team?
I think actually you would technically still owe Olynyk some money next year too. It's not fully.
I think you're right. I think it's minimal, like $3 million or something like that. But in return, you got an expiring deal in Bojan Bogdanovic, who the player
better than Kelly Olynyk at a position you need more than the position Kelly Olynyk was playing.
Right. Bogdanovic is a really good 3-point shooter. He's a little older. He's 33, but he's a wing, which you desperately needed. And he hits the 3 ball at a very high rate.
It's insane,
which is also something you desperately needed, by the way.
Like, it was highly publicized that the Utah Jazz were looking to acquire a first-round pick for Bojan Bogdanovic, sorry. And we got him for Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee.
Well, that's like when the Kings were asking for Sadiq Bey and who was it for Marvin Bagley, and we gave them. What did we end up giving them?
We gave them Todd. What's his face?
The dude who never wanted to even be here.
Yeah, what's it? Oh my God, I am me nuts. Blanking.
I am.
We gave Josh Jackson and Trey Lyles.
Lyles. That's it. Yeah.
I don't know why I kept wanting to say Tyus Jones. And damn well it wasn't Tyus Jones.
We've never had Tyus Jones.
No, we have. There was a T and a Y in there, all right?
But, no, like I thought this was a big win for Dwayne Casey. Does this make you wonder if the team's going to try to compete this year for a playoff spot? Does this make you think they're a little bit closer than we thought?
This on surface level looks very much like a win now move.
It does.
If you don't take in consideration the fact that Bogdanovic is on an expiring deal and
there's value at the deadline there. It's an $18 million expiring deal.
I think it was just to acquire. I think one, it's an asset that can help this team right now. James Edwards.
Okay, here's actually the kicker here. It's not expiring.
It is.
No, it's not. He's got a player option for next year at $18 million. Spot track. I got the spot track up right now to the 22-23 season. He's got an $18 million 1-year deal with a player option for 23-24. So there is actually a chance he's back next year.
And if I were him, I'd pick up that player option.
I would as well. You're 33 years old.
Yeah. At your age, I don't think you're going to get signed for that much money.
No, heck no. So there is that added aspect of and the dead cap value is $18 million also, so it's not like it's something easy there to get rid of. But he's got a player option for next year to close out his deal. So you added a little bit of salary for next year. But again, position of need. And I don't think his 3-point shooting is going to fall off a table from his age 33 to age 34 season. I don't.
I'm not. Why don't I see the player option? Then again, I'm not on spot.
Oh my God, I've got Bogdanovic up.
I was about to say.
I did the same thing. I specifically looked up Bojan Bogdanovic, and it's oh man.
I'm not seeing player option.
Bojan Bogdanovic for 19.3 this year. God, their contracts are even that close.
I was like, I know I checked this when we did the trade. I did not see the player.
That's messed up. I Googled Bojan Bogdanovic contract, and the first entry, or the first listing, is for Bojan Bogdanovic.
It almost had me completely rethinking my thoughts on the trade.
Anyways. Even if that was the case, I still wouldn't hate this deal, or this trade, because one, Olynyk's gone at the end of the year. Saban Lee, who cares at this point? There's really not a path for him. So you basically gave away nothing to bring in a guy
I would still like the deal. I just like it more when it's a valuable asset that you could move to acquire more assets at the deadline potentially.
Right. I agree with you there. It's you can trade him for assets because there's going to be teams calling for him. Or, I mean, if you're in a position to compete, like you have a guy in a position, you need shooting. You need a wing. Like, does he provide great defense? No.
The only way this goes south is if he comes in and gets hurt or just is terrible somehow. Like, just forgets how to play basketball.
His 3-point shooting drops down to 32%, which during his career he's never done. He's never shot below 35.5% from three, and his rookie year was his lowest year. He's shot 3 seasons over 40% from three.
Yeah,
that's gonna be nice to have here.
James Edwards came up with 2 interesting thoughts on this trade. One, he said that I'm curious if you agree with either of them. One, he said that you could make a legitimate argument right now that Bogdanovic, Bojan, Jesus Christ. I'm just gonna say Bogey. All right, he's
Bogey.
That Bogey is. You can make a legitimate argument that Bogey is already the second best player on this team.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. Bogdanovic is a good player. He averaged 18.1 points per game last year.
Yeah, and then
honestly, the guy I would, and he's averaged over 20 before in his career. The guy I would put closest to being the second best player on this team is Sadiq Bey.
Yeah, agreed. 100% agree. And then the other comment he made on this, and he made this on the podcast, was they were also talking about like the fact that the asking price was a first round pick. How did the Pistons come in and swoop him for so cheap? He was speculating that the Utah Jazz viewed the Pistons as competitors for Wembanyama, and this was the worst team they could get Bogdanovic to help take them out of the Wembanyama running.
That's very
possible. Obviously, a team like the Spurs wasn't going to take him. Like, no,
there's no need for it. Like, there's no reason. Yeah, I honestly I could see that as being a possibility. Like the Jazz are on a absolutely zero shame with the full tank this year, trading everything possible away. Like they might even have gotten rid of the washing machines. I don't know. Or they might have even pulled a full-on major league and got rid of the team plane and put them on a bus. Like it could have been that. It's in all reality, it's a good move for the Pistons. The guy's a really good shooter. You can ask him to go sit out on the perimeter, let Cade work, let Jaden Ivey work, and he'll be there. And he'll catch, he'll shoot, he'll make a good number of them. And that's something that you have desperately needed as a Pistons team for how long now? Since we were in diapers.
and like you said, I mean, it's like one of the core needs of this team right now is 3-point shooting, and you brought 2 guys in this offseason that will help with that, Alec Burks and Bogey.
Well, Burks is hurt right now. He's not going to be.
Well, I know, but he's going to play at some point in the season. Yes. Like you brought 2 guys in that will help with that.
Who knows? Maybe there's a guy that the Pistons have in their system that tracks out to potentially be a player like Bogdanovic, and he can coach him up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got a 19.5 or 19 and a third expiring deal that you can trade at the deadline for an asset if you want to. Like if you're not in a position where you're one of the top 10 teams in the East come, a month before the deadline, you start shopping that pick. Yeah. If you are, you make the argument that maybe you keep going and go for it. Take a look at your schedule. Take a look at your team. How you playing? How's your health? Maybe we go for it. That's actually an interesting question.
Yeah.
We're a month out from the deadline. Pistons are the 10 seed right now. You trade Bogdanovic, or you keeping him and going for a playoff spot? Obviously, 9 and 10 aren't playoff spots.
Again, obviously, it depends the type of offers are on the table, but I'm gonna go ahead and assume you can get a first round. Like, even though I'm not sure that this would be what you get.
I don't know
if
you'd get a first at the deadline for him. You might get something, but I don't know if it'd be a full-on first. But we'll see. Who knows? Maybe it is.
Some people are willing to throw shit at you to get someone that will help them make that final push. But like, if you were to get that offer, I move him because I don't think Bogdanovic is going to be part of your future on this team. Like
he's 33.
He doesn't. Your
future is in like 3 years from now.
You capitalize on that value. because again, I value the playoff experience, but like in all honesty, what's going to happen if you make the playing game? You're going to get bounced right away. Okay. You're not even going to get out of that playing game.
What if you're the 8th seed?
They're not going to be the 8th seed.
What if they are? What if Jaden Ivey is everything we thought he is? And Cade takes that step forward. Sadiq takes that step forward.
If they're the 8th seed, you ride it out.
All right.
Because at that point, you're actually playing a series, hopefully.
You still gotta win the playing game.
Yeah, you gotta win the playing game, but like you're no longer the underdog in the playing game, and you have a legitimate shot to play a playoff series, which I think is a very important experience for this team. So at that point, you ride it out. But if they are where I think they're going to be, which is right around 10, I
think you're looking
capitalize
at
on the value.
10, 11, 12 is probably the spot that they're likely going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, recently, was Media Day today or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yeah, the Pistons had their Media Day yesterday. I know there was some...
Oh, one more thing happened.
Oh.
The Pistons exercised their 2023-2024 options on Sadiq Bey, Killian Hayes, and Isaiah Stewart.
No surprises.
They also exercised their third-year option on Kate Cunningham.
No surprise. Media Day was yesterday. Andrew, I know you said that there were some interesting things that were said out of that. Let's hear some of that.
Oh, yeah. The first one that really caught my eye was Jane Ivey talking about being a Piston. And basically, I'm paraphrasing since I don't have the exact quote, but he basically said how his roots run deep in Detroit and how he doesn't want to play for any other team in his career and he wants to be a Piston for life. And that's something very rare to hear in this city from a top 5 pick as a rookie. How does that make you feel?
Who said this again? Sorry.
Jane Ivey.
Jane Ivey. Okay. It honestly feels nice to hear it, but how much of it is just talk? Like you can see.
Yeah, you never know.
You can see that there is a connection to Detroit that he has with his family history here. His mom played for the Shock. His grandpa played for the Lions. His dad was. Didn't he play for a local? He was a Country Day player, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. So he's got local connections here, obviously. So yeah, it might have been a team growing up that he really was a fan of. So yeah, he has that personal connection, but that doesn't necessarily mean that 4 years from now things are going to be in the right spot for him.
Like I so badly want to buy in, and I mean, at this point, you don't really have a reason not to.
I think to buy into that, it's naive in today's day and age. That stuff just doesn't happen anymore in any of the sports, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, or hockey. Players don't stick around that long anymore. Mm-hmm. You don't see the lifetimers. You just don't. Yeah, it probably happens in sports like hockey a little bit more because there's some type of fraternity involved with that. And in the case of the Red Wings, you quite literally will not get your jersey number retired unless you play the entire career with the team. You don't see it in basketball, especially. And so I think it's naive to think that it's actually going to happen or to buy into it. But I think he wants to have it be that way. Yeah, that would mean that there's success.
Yeah, there's always a business side of it too. Like
if there's no success with the Pistons,
move them too.
If there's no success with the Pistons, why would he stay?
Yeah.
So if he stays and he wants to be here, that means he wants to succeed here, and it's gonna require success.
Yeah, it's very much talking about in an ideal world.
In an ideal world, LeBron probably would have wanted to stay in Cleveland forever. I mean, let's be real.
It just feels good that the reason it makes me feel good is that you have someone in this city that you drafted that isn't immediately going to be the mindset
try to get me to that
get
first
these years
contract,
over with.
Right.
Let's just get these years over with.
So somebody who you're happy it's somebody who's not pulling in Ndamukong Suh, who just says, "Oh, we're another year closer to free agency."
Exactly. That's where I'm approaching it from.
Fair enough. I buy that.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that we saw was Killian Hayes.
Did he show a 3-pointer?
He showed off a revamped jumper in general.
Interesting. Okay.
And then so I did some digging on it. and none other than James Edwards III wrote up a whole article on it.
So we honestly ought to just like add this guy to the show, even though he would never do it. But that we use so
never
much
my
stuff.
intention to pull in a James Edwards article on it, but like I saw the video of him shooting jumpers, and I was trying to find like any evidence of him having actually worked on his jumper because it looked different. And
his shot needed to be revamped. His shot was ugly.
Yeah, but basically he worked with multiple shooting coaches. Some the Pistons designated for him. Some he sought after independently. They fixed a lot of things like his shooting pocket. Now his elbow is tucked neatly under his shoulder when he shoots. He's not shuffling his feet all over the place when he sets for a shot. Higher release point. He's not releasing like at shoulder level anymore. It just the shot looks a lot better, and he's
that's all wonderful.
I know. I'm saying,
is he making them?
Yeah. So, at least according to the shooting coaches, they talked about how he's making them at a higher clip. He just has to like keep getting reps up to get comfortable with the form. But like when he's shooting in that form, he's making them at a higher clip. But obviously, that's all wonderful. You're making open shots. We got to see it in the game.
Right.
But,
we got to see that you're able to build that muscle memory to go to that form in a game. One. Mm-hmm. Two, that does concern me a little bit that he's not comfortable with it yet.
Well, yeah, anytime you revamp your shooting form.
Right,
entirely.
but I would hope when we're this close to the season, you're comfortable with your shooting form.
Yeah. Well,
that's all.
He's also reportedly put up 1,000 shots a day. In the offseason. Like he's doing like the reason I'm putting this up
Isn't that something that I guess I just kind of assumed that was just something expected of players in the NBA?
Well, player expectations went out the window when I heard about this Kyler Murray situation. So.
All right, fair. The dude is addicted to Call of Duty. Fair.
And then like also like in interviews, he talked about how like one of his main focuses this offseason was not overthinking the game, being more assertive, being more aggressive. Like again, a lot.
That's something I like to hear.
Yeah. So again, it's gonna take more than obviously just talk, but it's encouraging to know that at least what we wanted to see Killian Hayes work on is what he's actually focusing in on.
You know what that tells me is that he listens to our show because it's exactly
100%. Yeah. But just in general, Killian Hayes does. It looks like he did get his option picked up for year 4, so I guess this is not a make or break year for him anymore. But in general, he's not going to get. With Jaden Ivey on the roster, he's not going to get as many on-ball opportunities as he got last season. So he's going the only way for him to stay on the court, other than obviously defense, is to start making some shots.
Right.
He's going to be in a lot of catch-and-shoot situations.
Absolutely. I do think this is an extremely pivotal year for Killian Hayes for a lot of reasons, and a lot of ways that he can really cement himself as a part of the future is with that developing that jump shot, being willing to be more assertive with the ball in his hands. I think there's a lot of ways for Killian to be successful, but they all rely on him progressing in a big way, and doing things that he hasn't quite been able to do thus far in his career.
One other thing. Cade really looks bulked up.
He added how much weight in muscle? Didn't they say he added 10 pounds in muscle in the offseason? That's a lot.
They said he went from 205 to 220.
15 pounds in muscle in the offseason. That's straight up a full-on Giannis bulk up.
Yeah.
Like that's something that guys like Giannis have done. Dude already was one of the best post guards in the league, and God, I feel bad for any guard that has to try to guard him down low now because that's bulk. That's muscle. That only thing I worry about is I hope it doesn't mess with his shooting.
Sadiq got more.
Please don't tell me he added 20 pounds.
No, he
Like he was just, he was in that sweet spot already.
he looks like in pictures. He looks like he's slimmed down, but apparently he's still at the same weight. He just cut some body fat.
He might have just
and replaced it with muscle.
Okay,
that's basically what it is.
Okay, I ain't complaining about that. I like stronger players.
Yeah, so I guess in a way he kind of sort of bulked up.
I feel like we hear this type of stuff every year. Like, so and so's added so much weight, so and so's bulked up a lot. But I think in Cade's case, it was necessary. He did need to add some muscle and some weight there to his frame. That's a serious bulk up for an off season, though. Like that gets me excited. How
do you do that when you're vegan?
I don't. Good question. Good question. But that's one of those things where Cade now has the body that he's not only got the height, but he's got now the body and the frame and the strength to be. I know it's like a ridiculous comparison, but to have a similar skill set to a LeBron James, to be that bruiser that get out of my way, the freight train's coming through as he goes to the rim.
I see what you're saying, and in terms of just the all-around game that he has. Again, he's a very different player from LeBron James, right? But in terms of the impact he can have on defensive schemes.
But Cade showed last year he was not shy about going to the rim at times. And LeBron's clearly not shy at going to the rim. At least he didn't used to be, and I still don't think he is. But if you can give Cade the confidence that his body is going to hold up when he goes down low and attacks the basket, you put that type of confidence in that man, and I don't know that there's anybody in the league that can stop him.
Yep.
I think that recipe right there puts him in the argument where he's becoming one of the more unstoppable players in the league.
Yep. I do want to close with a Nick rant because I know this is going to set you on a rant.
Oh, God.
ESPN released their top 100. Cade is the only Piston on it, which is fine and dandy.
Yeah. I'm not going to get mad about that.
Until you see that
he's 99th.
Keegan Murray made it over Sadiq Bey.
What? What? Keegan Murray we've seen Summer League from. What the hell? First off,
he also made it over Bogey, just so you know.
That's even ridiculous. First off, the fact that you're putting rookies on a top 100 list, like, just already are stupid. This is why it's BSPN. Like, is that just the Sacramento Kings organization just paying ESPN to give them something to be excited about?
Maybe.
My favorite thing about the Kings, and this video will play in my head throughout the entire season, is the Kings fans coming out of the Summer League game going, we're going to win 40 games this year.
The first Summer League game.
Congrats. You're going to go 40 and 42 and probably miss the playoffs or play in a playing game.
But no, like,
if you want to talk about how low the bar could possibly be, like, Jesus, man.
I mean, just being
and they probably, in all reality, will still miss that bar. Like, I don't think they win 40.
I mean, let's be honest. As Lions fans, a lot of us would be pretty psyched if we won 8 games this year. So
probably. We're going to win 8 games this year.
We won 8 and 9. Let's go.
No, I think that's disrespectful to Sadiq Bey. I think Sadiq Bey, you match up Keegan Murray against Sadiq Bey right now. Who's coming out on top of that matchup?
Oh my God!
9 times out of 10, I take Sadiq Bey. Sadiq Bey would destroy that man mentally, physically, everything in every facet of the game. Sadiq Bey would destroy Keegan Murray, destroy him in 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. It just goes back to our rule. You shouldn't be putting rookies in top 100s.
Rookies don't belong there. Sorry.
I mean, and by rookies, I mean rookies that haven't played a single minute in the NBA yet.
Right. Yeah.
If by January you want to put Keegan Murray.
Just out of curiosity, what other rookies are there and where are they?
I couldn't tell you.
I'm assuming the other.
I know. Cade was 35.
Okay, well he's not a rookie.
I know, but if you were curious where
35 actually is a little bit higher than I would have expected them to put him. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to complain about that. I will keep my mouth shut there. I like.
All right, here.
I will say this. I think Cade has a really good opportunity to put himself inside the top 20 this year. But 35 for right here, right now, that's fair.
So let's see if there were any other rookies. Buddy Hield made it to 90.
I think shooting alone, he probably belongs there. He belongs there more than Keegan Murray.
Paolo Banchero is 82.
82 for a rook? Dude's done nothing. He played, what, 2 Summer League games?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're getting too high to senior the rookies. I think that's it.
So Jabari Smith's not there?
Nope.
No Chet Holmgren? I mean, granted, Chet's out for the year, but who wrote this?
I don't think it was a specific writer.
Really? Well, whoever put the list together,
ESPN.com.
Whoever put the list together, just...
It's a panel.
Well, that panel needs to just try something else next time because, Jesus.
Oh, man.
This is why, like, there are 2 publications that I, like, for the most part, when they put some type of analysis piece out there, I tend to be able to just immediately write it off. And it's ESPN and Bleacher Report.
Yeah.
I can just say, yeah, that's either not worth reading or I'll read it just to have a good laugh.
I actually don't have a problem with their top 5, though.
Well, yeah, top 5 usually is pretty damn easy.
Yeah, 5 stuff. 5 stuff, 4 Embiid, 3 Luka, 2 Jokic, 1 Giannis.
Could you make an argument that Steph belongs in the top 3?
Yeah, you could. I'm just saying, like, those 5 players, I think those are the right 5 players.
Yeah, it's probably, yes, those are the right 5 players. So, anyways, anything else to add before we close out?
No, that's it.
All right, that is going to call for this week, guys. Thank you for listening. Follow us on Twitter at Real Fan Report, and thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast, as always, at Detroit Podcast, where you can find them on Twitter as well. We will catch you guys next week for our next episode. Andrew, thank you for joining me, and thank you guys again for listening. This has been the Fan Reporters by fans.
For fans.
We will catch you guys later. Have a good one. See ya.
Deuces.